Medical Dialogues, your daily dose of health and medical news. I am Dr. Nandita Mohan, and let's look into the latest developments. Serum procalcitonin, a reliable biomarker for diagnosing ventilator-associated pneumonia in kids also. Procalcitonin has gained or even proved its value in diagnosing serious conditions and infections and differentiating the inflammatory infected pneumonias. Ventilator-associated pneumonia is a major hospital-acquired infection that accentuates morbidities in an already sick child and negatively impacts the recovery and prognosis. Various morbidities associated with VAP included prolonged ventilation, long duration of higher antibiotics, increased ICU and hospital stay, subsequently leading to increased healthcare costs. Early identification of an evolving VAP helps in early optimization of antibiotic therapy and correlates with early weaning. For this purpose, researchers carried out an observational study including 79 pediatric patients requiring mechanical ventilation with suspected VAP. 82.1% of the patients had high serum procalcitonin levels against 25% who in the non-VAP group. Therefore, the authors concluded that the inclusion of procalcitonin in diagnostic and therapeutic protocols of VAP may guide in reducing antibiotic exposure and VAP-associated morbidities. Even the episodes of atrial fibrillation are linked to ischemic stroke risk. Occurrence of atrial fibrillation have always been associated with stroke, but now it has been even found out that even the episodes of atrial fibrillation lasting at least 5.5 hours are associated with a higher risk of ischemic stroke, particularly in the first few days. The study published in the JAMA Cardiology journal supports AF being a causal risk factor than the idea of a risk marker, and that the paroxysmal atrial fibrillation poses a risk of stroke during and for a short time, and even the risk decreases rapidly. The study yielded that the vast majority of patients with stroke had either no AF meeting the threshold duration of 5.5 hours or more in both the cases and control periods, accounting for 76.5%, whereas the stroke risk was increased most in days 1 to 5 following an AF episode. The researchers concluded that the findings are consistent with the traditional view that AF is directly and transiently associated with ischemic stroke. Pulsed lighted treatment, a new method to treat dry eye disease. Dry eye disease is becoming quite common these days. It is a condition that occurs when your tears aren't able to provide adequate lubrication for your eyes. Meibomian gland dysfunction may be the leading cause of dry eye disease throughout the world. A new study has reported that intense pulsed light can help reduce the use of artificial tears, meaning that this therapy has the ability to improve the tear film lipid layer quality. It is also known to clinically reduce the signs and symptoms of dry eye disease, thereby reducing the use of artificial tears. The study published in the Contact Lens and Anterior Eye Journal said that the prospective randomized examiner-controlled study included 142 eyes suffering from the condition. Sham procedure was performed on day 0, 21 and 42, following the results which showed that artificial tears usage was significantly less in the group from D2 onwards. So the authors concluded that the intense pulse light treatment demonstrated the ability to improve the lipid layer quality and clinically reduce the signs and symptoms of developing dry eye disease, thereby decreasing the frequency of artificial tear usage. General anesthesia is considered as safe an option as spinal anesthesia after a broken hip surgery. There are many studies in the literature which reports the comparisons of general anesthesia versus spinal anesthesia, some of which have even suggested that there are lower rates of cognitive and medical complications when compared with spinal anesthesia. However, a new research shows that the rates of survival, functional recovery, and post-operative delirium are similar for patients whether they underwent general anesthesia or even spinal anesthesia specifically for hip fracture surgery. The study published published in the New England Journal of Medicine enrolled 1,600 patients at least 50 years of age who had broken a hip and had previously been able to walk. Hip fractures are particularly worrisome among older populations like the patients in the study, since they can lead to a loss of mobility, which is also associated with doubling or even tripling the risk of near-term death. The results showed that by 60 days after surgery, 18.5% assigned to the spinal anesthesia had either died or become newly unable to walk versus 18% of patients who received general anesthesia. When looking at mortality at 60 days alone, 3.9% received spinal anesthesia died versus 4.1% who got general anesthesia. The study hence reassured that general anesthesia can represent a safe option for hip fracture surgery for many patients. That's all for today. Stay safe.
Never miss a medical update from Medical Dialogues. Like, subscribe, and press the bell icon.